Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. We're picking up right where we left off, continuing this really fascinating journey.
That's right. Still making our way up the mountain, Purgatory. We're on the sixth cornice with the soul's purifying gluttony.
And it's never just about food, is it? It feels like Dante's using it to talk about, well, all our appetites, our desires.
Exactly. How we refine them, maybe transform them into something, more spiritual. It really does mirror our own struggles, I think.
Yeah, that push and pull for growth. So today, we're focusing in, diving deep into the 24th canto specifically.
Yep, Canto 24. We're looking for those practical bits of wisdom, maybe some unexpected insights relevant for all of us on our own journeys.
Okay, so let's set the scene again. Sixth cornice. What actually happens for Dante and Virgil in this canto?
Well, it picks up that conversation from the last canto with the poet Bonagiunta da Lucca.
Ah, right. And this is where Bonagiunta has that moment of recognition about Dante's poetry.
Precisely. He sees something totally new, kind of revolutionary in what Dante's doing.
Which leads to Dante explaining his whole approach. The famous dolce stil novo, the sweet new style.
Yeah, it's huge. A real manifesto moment. Dante puts it something like, I am one who, when love inspires me, takes note.
Mm-hmm.
And in that manner which he dictates within, I go signifying.
Wow. Dictates within. So it's not just technique, it's this deep inner source.
Absolutely. That's the core of it. The focus shifts inward
Yeah.
to the real experience of love, of virtue, driven by that internal inspiration. It's not just following the old rules.
That line, when love inspires me, takes note. That feels incredibly important. So, okay, after this big literary moment, where do they go next?
The journey moves on. For Donati, who Dante had that emotional reunion with earlier,
Yeah.
he points out some other souls there, including his own sister Piccarda. Then for Celes, but not before repeating a prophecy about his brother Corso,
Yeah.
tied up in all that Florentine politics stuff.
Always circling back to Florence, and then they come across a tree.
Yes, a very significant tree. It's meant to be the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But the function here is completely flipped.
How so?
Well, in reading, it was temptation, right?
Hmm.
Here, it's a symbol of knowledge learned, and it's actually part of the purification process.
Okay.
And right as they get there, an angel shows up and wipes the sixth P for peccatum, sin off Dante's forehead. Another step complete.
Ah, another layer gone. So the tree itself, it does something, it teaches.
Yeah, a voice actually comes from the tree citing examples of temperance.
Oh, interesting. Like what?
Well, it mentions the wedding at Cana, where Christ turned water into wine, celebrating community.
Right.
But then it also mentions the ancient Romans apparently content with just water, showing like civic discipline.
So different kinds of examples for temperance. It's not just one thing.
Exactly. And you might remember this is sort of the reverse of hell, right? In hell, you saw the consequences of vice to learn the lesson. Here, on Purgatory, you're often shown examples of the virtue itself, or its opposite, to guide you. So seeing temperance in action, essentially.
Okay, got it. So I've got the poetry, the people, Farese, Piccarda, the symbolic tree, the angel, the examples. Let's pull out the takeaways. What's the wisdom here for our own lives? Starting with Dante's definition of his poetry, maybe. When love inspires me.
Yeah, that's a great place to start. I think it's a huge lesson about authenticity. And not just for poets or artists,
Yeah.
for anyone.
How do you mean?
Well, think about all the pressure today, right? To kind of curate yourself, follow trends, whether it's online, at work. Dante's saying something radical here. He's saying true creativity, real impact, it comes from listening inside.
To that inner voice.
Exactly. Finding your genuine inspiration, what you truly feel or think, not just mastering techniques or saying what you think people want to hear. It's about being true to that inner dictation.
That resonates. Tapping into something real within yourself, whatever you do. Okay, what about the tree then? And those examples, the wine at the wedding, the Romans water. It's clearly not just saying don't indulge, is it?
No, not at all. And that's what makes it so practical, I think. It's about balance. It's about the right use of things in the right context.
Okay.
So Christ providing wine, that supports joy, community, celebration. The Romans sticking to water, that highlights discipline, need, maybe civic duty. It pushes us to look at our own desires, for comfort, for success, pleasure, information even, and ask.
Is this serving something good?
Right. Is it serving growth, connection?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it just excess? Is it tipping into a kind of gluttony, even if it's not food? It makes you think about why you want something.
Considering context and intention, that makes sense. And you mentioned Piccarda, Forchese's sister. That reminds me of Nella from the last canto too. Is there something there about positive example?
I think so, yeah. Piccarda's story is complex, forced out of a convent. But her presence there, among family members maybe struggling more, like forte, it does highlight how one person's, let's say, integrity or inner strength can have a ripple effect.
Even in difficult situations, like families or workplaces.
Especially then, maybe. It's a quiet reminder that striving for, your own best self matters. It can be a powerful, positive model, even if others aren't on the same page.
And then there's the angel wiping away the pee. That happens on each terrace.
And it's such a clear image of progress, isn't it? It shows that growth, spiritual, personal, whatever, it's step by step.
You don't just jump to the end.
Exactly. Each P erased, each stage completed, it's a burden lifted, lesson learned, it teaches patience maybe. That growth is gradual. You climb the mountain one step at a time, and each step prepares you for the next.
That feels very real. Finally, this idea that Dante saw his writing, his poetry, as more than just a skill. It was like a calling for him.
Yeah, spiritual calling almost. And that encourages us, I think, to look at our own work, our talents, whatever we do day to day, and consider if it could be more than just a task or a job. Could it be an instrument for something bigger, serving a purpose beyond just, getting paid or getting it done?
Finding a mission within the mundane, maybe?
Sorta, yeah. It elevates the effort, gives it more meaning, it changes how you approach it.
So, okay, looking back at this canto, we've touched on authentic inspiration, finding that nuanced balance instead of just denial, the subtle power of being a good example, seeing growth as this gradual climb, and maybe finding a deeper mission in our work.
It's amazing, really, how these, centuries-old texts keep offering up stuff that feels so relevant to navigating life now. The struggles, the virtues, they're timeless.
Definitely food for thought. So maybe the question to leave you with is this: how might embracing that authentic inner voice, finding your own right balance, trying to be that positive example, and maybe seeing your work as part of a larger mission, how could that change the way you navigate your own journey, like right now?
That's a powerful question to sit with. Each step up this mountain really does offer a new perspective for our own climb, doesn't it?
It really does. And well, that brings us to the end of this particular deep dive. Thank you, as always, for joining us. This was our 58th deep dive together.
And we look forward to continuing the journey with you all next time.